Here. Actually, it's going to give me a second to fill in here. Look at that, though. Magnets. Awesome. I am Drew Badger, the founder of English of, now I'm forgetting where I'm from. It's early over here. I'm Drew Badger, the founder of EnglishAnyone.com, and today we're going to talk about pronunciation and how to sound more like a native. And also, even if you don't care about sounding native or you don't care about improving your pronunciation, this will also help you understand native speakers much easier. All right, well, it's a pleasure to see everybody here. We're just getting started. We'll wait for a few people to come on in, and then we'll get started. But today I have Frederick with me, and so we're going to go through the app. This is free to download, and everything I'm going to show you today, at least the first part of the app, everybody can enjoy this. So you don't have to pay anything to do it. If you want to pay, if you want to get all the levels, you can. And here's the link to get it. I'll just put the link, let's see, up here. So this is, if you go to English, okay, that fits up there, English. So if you go to EnglishAnyone.com/Frederick, you can download the app. It has links for, wow, such a great lesson. Fantastic. We haven't even started yet. But I'm excited. Yes, I love talking about pronunciation because I like trying to mimic voices and sound more native, especially when I'm speaking Japanese. Well, English is too complicated. I mean, T-O-O, too complicated. But I'm going to show you actually how English is quite easy. This video will be focusing specifically on pronunciation. Hopefully everybody can hear me. I'm still testing the new microphone. Let me know if you can hear me. If you can hear me, just say, yes, I can hear you, or it's coming in loud and clear, or if I need to turn up the microphone more, let me know. So I wanted to talk about pronunciation because I know this is a very common thing for many people. Okay, fantastic. All right, I'm trying to pick. Okay, you can hear me. All right, great. All right, very good, very good. Thank you very much. So just tell you a quick story. I was having a text message with my wife a couple of days ago, and I was out shopping, and she said, Did you buy a foodie? So she just typed this. Does anyone know what this is? Let me know in the chat if you know what a foodie is. A foodie. Does anyone know what that is? So she asked me in the chat, did you buy a foodie? Did you buy a foodie? Hello, good morning from Brazil, Indonesia. Nice to see everybody out there. What is a foodie? Does anyone know what that is? Just post that in the chat if you know. So just to be quick here, I want to keep this moving, make sure everyone can follow this. But so she said, did I buy a foodie? And I said, what do you mean by a foodie? So a foodie is actually a person, yes, I know it is food taster. Oh, food taster. Well, a foodie is just someone who's really interested with food. I attended an interview in English today. Happy with the results. Thank you, teacher. Fantastic. Great. Glad to hear that, Leandro. So a foodie is someone who's interested in food. So you might find, if you type in foodie here on YouTube, you will find YouTubers who are talking about food, who are interested in trying different kinds of food. That's a foodie. But she didn't mean foodie. She meant a hoodie. A hoodie. A hoodie. Now, what's a hoodie? Does anyone know what a hoodie is? What's a hoodie? A hoodie. A hoodie. You guys might know what this one is. I actually brought one with me today. I was wearing one. Is this? It's a jacket or some kind of sweatshirt, usually a sweatshirt with a hood on it. A hoodie. A hoodie. Jesus is wearing a hoodie right now. Yes, a hoodie is a kind of jacket. Yes, you will see, usually people spell it H-O-D-D-I-E, but it's kind of, yes, it's just a hoodie like this. And so what was interesting is that my wife knew what she was talking about. She meant this because I was out shopping for clothes, and then she typed this. Now, it wasn't a mistype. especially rappers. Yes, well, hoodies are common with lots of people, especially young people. I like to wear them because I'm always wearing comfortable clothes. I have jeans and a t-shirt on today, like usual. But the interesting thing was it was the pronunciation that she had trouble hearing that word, and that's why she didn't know which one to use. So I understood what she meant after that. It took me a minute to figure that out. But her pronunciation, just like everyone else's pronunciation, it begins with listening. So she couldn't hear that because in Japanese, they actually pronounce both of these the same way. So both of these words are used in Japanese. And so, well, I'm actually probably foodie is not really, but to say that word, you would probably say like hoodie. But in English, like we say foodie, and the sound for the OO here, food, like regular food that you eat. And then this is like hood, or would, or could, that kind of sound, that sound. So we have foodie and hoodie. But the important thing here is that it began with listening. If she couldn't hear the sound correctly, then she couldn't make the sound correctly. And she couldn't make the distinction between these two different sounds. Does that make sense? All right, so pronunciation begins with your listening, and it's not trying to make, certain sounds or say certain sounds. It really, if you can hear it and understand the sounds well, then you'll be able to speak. And of course, we got a siren coming up. Let me look at these comments over here, see if we have anything. Really amazing student from Morocco, nice to see you. Our ears detect everything, but our brain can't perceive everything that our ears detect. Yes, this is true. Your brain kind of filters the information. All right. So the interesting thing, though, is that people worry about pronunciation like they're trying to mimic sounds when what you should be doing is really getting lots of that listening and lots of comparing of different sounds. And this is how natives become fluent in how they develop good listening and how their pronunciation becomes natural as well, because they're getting lots of different, what I often call naturally varied review. So we're going to talk about in this, and we're going to talk about how Frederick can help you with this as well. So I just wanted to begin with that story because a common problem that people have is, again, they're not quite sure about their pronunciation. They might be worried about saying one sound the right way, or they're worried if the pronunciation, maybe they say one word or like this, they're trying to say one thing, but they say something else instead. So if you'd like to have better pronunciation, what I'd like to help you do today is learn pronunciation strategically. Okay, I love to talk about the different strategies of language learning rather than doing just random things that will help you. Now, what usually happens in live videos or even people just asking questions in general, whenever I do videos, especially on pronunciation, people will ask me to pronounce random words. So give me some random words you'd like me to say. Just type them in the chat right now. If there is a word you are unsure about, tell me what the word is and I will translate it, or not translate it, but I will say the word, I will pronounce it for you. In regular, clear, my natural American English. So if there is a word you'd like to hear, just type it in the chat right now. Any word. I just want to do this as an example. I just have a quick drink. Okay, that's a good one. All right, first word is a comfortable. So we can hear this as comfort. Comfortable. Oh, excellent. Anything else? I just get a few practicing pronunciations, automatic developing our listening skills, right? Because when we do it, then our brain starts perceiving, yes, it is a word that exists in English, so we can understand. Harfiat, yes. Well, it's related to listening, yes, but it doesn't matter if it's a real word or not. So natives can look at a nonsense word that's not a real word at all. So I could put some random letters up here. Let's say CIPNORQEST. So this is not a word, but a native would know how to read this. And that's the difference often between natives and non-natives because of how they learn pronunciation. So natives learn Deuteronomy. Genuine, how to say Atlanta, patriot, exit. All right, beautiful. Lots of great words in here. We'll cover all those in a second. But the point is, it's not about recognizing a word. It's about how you learn pronunciation, okay? How you learn pronunciation. So students will give me a word like this and say, how do you pronounce this? So look at the word comfortable. I'll go back over some of those other words as well in the rest of the chat. So you can say comfortable, but often natives will just say like comfortable, comfortable. So it's comfortable. So even though the sound of it, it's like comfortable, it's like comfortable. All right. Again, I don't want to spend too much time pronouncing individual words because I actually don't want you to learn pronunciation this way. The reason I'm doing this is it's just an example of what most people do and how most learners think about pronunciation. So excellent is another word like that. Excellent. And then this word down here, this is a nonsense word, so it's not an actual word in English, but you could still pronounce it using the rules of English if you understand pronunciation strategically, if you learn it strategically. So this would be like a Sypnerkest. Now, how do I know how to pronounce that? It's because I can look at this and think, okay, it's certain rules about pronunciation that I've learned as I've understood, again, learning pronunciation systematically, and this is what we do with Frederick. So I'll show you how to do that. So be sure to download the app, install the app right now if you've not done that already. I'll look at a couple more words in just a second. It sounds like a real word when you pronounce it. Yes, exactly. It sounds like a real word when I pronounce it. So again, the idea about pronunciation is looking at strings of letters and understanding how a native would say them. Sometimes the pronunciation is maybe different for some reason, if it's a name or maybe it's a root word or something from a different language. But typically, natives can look at this and understand how to pronounce it. So I know, just by looking at this, because we have a C followed by an I, that this is going to be an S sound, a soft C. So now I know this is going to be sip. Now it could be but probably not, because generally whenever we have I following C, it's going to be like receive. So followed by like an I or an E, R-E-C-I-E-V-E. Same thing. Receive. Now, I don't want to just teach you random words. The whole point is to show you how to do this strategically and how to do this by yourself. All right. I have so many years listening to your videos. Thank you very much, Louis. I'm glad to hear it. Hopefully they have been helpful for you. All right. So let me pronounce a few more of these individual words before I show you how to do this strategically. All right. So we began with comfortable. You can pronounce it as comfortable or comfortable. There's not often just like one way to pronounce some things, and even you will have different dialects where different natives are pronouncing things in different ways. And then we have, let's see, so Deuteronomy, we said that. I think that's a book of the Bible. Genuine. Atlanta. And this is kind of a softer T sound. We don't say Atlanta. It's like Atlanta. The last T, the second T disappears. Atlanta. Next, CC says a patriot. Julio says exit. You will hear exit and exit also. Phrasal verbs and idioms, please. Yes, we're not talking about phrasal verbs and idioms in these, but you will learn about how to pronounce those in this video. Let's see, thought and fought. So both of those have the same O-U-G-H-T, thought and fought, same pronunciation there. Determine. Also, reductions are important to understand native speakers, right? So I'm asking a lot of questions. No, a lot of questions are great. That's why I'm here. That's the whole point of these live videos, so I can explain things to people and help them understand. If you have any questions, please let me know. That's why I'm here. But yes, so all of the things in general, natives are not learning, they're basically learning reductions and other things like that because they're learning naturally. And by naturally, I mean they're just listening to other native speakers rather than beginning with reading words, which is what learners often do. So typically an adult English learner, they will begin learning the alphabet and maybe learn a few sounds and start reading words. They don't really learn systematically, but they're learning a lot of random words. And so they get a textbook. This is a marker, this is a pen, my name is Tom, that kind of thing. But they're not really learning, again, systematically and understanding what the rules of the language are. And when young children are beginning to learn the language, they can't read or write. So the only way they get pronunciation is by listening. And as they hear those sounds, they learn like a friend might say, a young child. So like, what you doing? What you doing? What you doing? So a child might be playing with something and their parent comes in and says, hey, what you doing? What you doing? Now in an English classroom, so a textbook or an English classroom, a learner would not learn what you do, and they're learning what are you doing? Yes, exactly, what are you doing? And so when you begin with writing, and you're trying to read the words first, it makes it a bit more difficult to understand pronunciation. So natives are actually having to learn what's correct English because they learn kind of, incorrect or what we would call reductions, other things like that, in the way to say it. So again, you can learn this way, but the way natives learn is actually understanding through listening. And so like lots of problems with pronunciation come from doing it the opposite way. Whatchamacallit, that's right. So the sense of pronunciation you have is that you see the words that don't exist in English. I guess we need to get that skill. Yes, it's not about seeing words that don't exist. It's understanding the pronunciation rules that do exist and then applying those to different words, whether they're real or not. All right? So what do you do when it reduces like what do you? What do you? Yeah, so what do you? The same kind of thing. And you will hear all of these reductions and different you can get technical with the vocabulary about that, but really the important thing is just to listen to what natives are saying in different situations. All right. Now, I want to make sure that people understand what I'm going through here. Appreciated. Let's see. I think, I'm guessing, Alessandro, that's Portuguese, I guess. Hola, estou começando. Yeah, I don't know if that's, again, I don't know the rules of pronunciation for, I'm guessing that's Portuguese. But I think it's like understanding English, something like that, because there's root words in both of those things. All right, so what we talked about just a moment ago was understanding pronunciation by the random way of learning pronunciation. I think I did this pronunciation workshop on, maybe it was Instagram a while ago, like maybe a month ago, something like that. No, I do not know Portuguese. I know Japanese, but I do not know Portuguese. But it's easier probably for me to learn Portuguese because many of the words are similar. So like to understand would be like to apprehend, to understand, something like that in a similar kind of way. All right, so we have two ways of learning pronunciation. We have like, let's just say the student way of learning pronunciation, and we have the native way of learning pronunciation. The student way of learning pronunciation is typically random words. So a student wants to know how to say something. They say, please tell me how to say this word. And they put words in the comments and videos, and then they say, Drew, tell me how to start this. He is starting to study English right now with you. Fantastic. Okay. Wakaranne. Gotcha. Well, I'm using Japanese right there. But yes, this video will probably be more difficult for beginners. Most of what I do on YouTube is helping adult learners who already understand a lot of English and they've learned the wrong way or ways that make it difficult for them to communicate fluently, and now I have to kind of rewire their brain so they can communicate well. All right, so again, beginning with just pronunciation, they're learning random words. They ask teachers, how do you pronounce this? How do you pronounce that? But what we want to do as a native is actually learn systematically, and that's why I built this tool right here that, again, you can download it right now. Go to EnglishAnyone.com/Frederick. If you have an iPhone or an iPad, You can download this. We have not put the tutorial into that version yet. We are still building that for the iPhone version, but we do have the beginnings of the tutorial for Android users. So you might have to play through that depending on which you get to, but the beginning part of the app is free. So the first 3 levels, the things I'm going to show you. I'll show you some later things as well you can use if you want to upgrade to get the complete app, but everything I'm showing you here will teach you the basics about pronunciation, because this is how, again, natives are learning it first. All right, I'm gonna check it out after the screen. Very good. All right, so natives, again, we're trying to learn pronunciation systematically. And we want to begin with something very basic, which is why we start with the alphabet. And the reason we begin with the alphabet is because the alphabet letters never change. So whenever I teach the alphabet, like if I'm teaching very little kids or even adults, we want to begin always the letter name doesn't change. And this is important because the rest of the letter pronunciations will change. So we will have different letters make the same sounds or same letters making different sounds. It gets complicated, but not if you learn systematically. All right. So we're going to go through the app, the basic levels of the app. We can start with level 1, which is the alphabet. You probably know that already, but if you want to go back and review the sounds of that, the whole app has my voice in it. So pronouncing everything clearly the way I'm doing it right now. So if you want to hear a particular word or again, learn systematically, you can actually do that with me anytime you like right in the app. All right. So when we're going through this, we're going to begin. You might not be able to see this. I'll hold it up so it's a little bit easier to see. But I want to just show you first how we're learning systematically right here on the board. So again, we want to go through one step at a time, one step at a time. And we're going to begin, so we have this letter right here. We just have the alphabet. And then we're going to go up to the next step. I'll erase this up here so we can go through those. Now remember, instead of learning random words, what we want to do is learn basic sounds and how to put them together and then compare those different sounds together, all right? It's the comparing and contrasting that lets your brain understand how to make different sounds and how to hear different sounds so that you improve your listening and pronunciation. So we'll begin with something very simple. These are all very simple words that little kids, like 2 years old, 3 years old, 4 years old, are all learning. We're going to start with, these are called the short vowels and the short consonants. So the short vowels are a, I, and Now remember that I am an American English speaker, so I'm going to have a slightly different pronunciation than British or Australian or even Canadian. They might sound a little bit different, and even people within the country will have different, so people within the United States will have different kind of maybe dialects or something, but in general this is like what you would hear on the news, the kind of smooth, natural, very easy to understand pronunciation. So I'm going to go through these with you, and then I'll just show you again how we're going to contrast these with different words. All right, so very easy in how you're learning pronunciation the natural way. So I'm stuck in intermediate, I can't improve my English. Yes, this is part of what's going to help you improve. But we're just focusing on pronunciation today rather than fluency, even though this is a part of good speech. All right, so we have a, e, a, a, e, a. Now if you go into Frederick, if you have the app, I'll show you where you can do this right in the app. So here we are on the level select screen, and if I go to level 2, I can actually go to those exact same letters and hear how that sounds. So we have all the letters right here. I turned off the sound because you can hear my pronunciation. You can hear me speaking right now. Clearly, it's a little bit different, a little bit more difficult to hear a sound from one device into the phone over here. But you can listen to the same sounds over here. So I'm touching the screen over here. See if I can hold this properly. E, a. And if we want to just focus on those by themselves, you can scroll through these over here. Now, when you're first starting to learn a sound, it's going to be a little bit less clear until you start getting more examples and start comparing more things. So I'm going to show you how that works right now. But just within the app, if you want to go, as soon as you get into the app, I'll start back at the title screen over here. So we have this little house icon. So right when you open Frederick, it will come right here to the title screen, especially if you have finished the tutorial already, or if you have an Apple iPhone or an iPad. Just click on that triangle right here and it will take you to the level select screen. So if you want to do the alphabet first, you can go to the alphabet, that's fine. Or again, we're going to practice with these individual sounds in level 2. And then I can switch the particular wheels over here. So we've just done, and I don't want to take a long time doing this because you can play with all these sounds right in the app by itself. But again, we've just done the short vowel sounds. So a, e, I, and you will hear the exact same thing if you go into the app and just play through it. A, e, I, Now you notice I'm tapping on them. You can scroll the wheel with your finger as well. And this is a kind of fun game you can play by yourself as you're trying to compare different sounds. So let's say you want to remember which sound these are. A, e, I. So if you close your eyes and you just spin the wheel, so close your eyes and see what it tells you, and then try to guess what letter that is. So this is a way of training your pronunciation with almost like having a native sitting there, and then you look and see what the letter is, and are you correct or are you incorrect? All right, so very easy to test yourself like that. So once we start experimenting with the different individual sounds, we're going to move up one level and start adding the short consonant sounds, okay? So we're going to just put b, b, at the beginning of all of these. All right, so again, we want to take this just like our little stair example. We want to take this one step at a time, and this is how you can also isolate so you can find out or discover where your particular pronunciation issues are. So you want to start again going through this in order and making sure you understand where you struggle with pronunciation, or maybe you don't hear something quite well. You can actually find the specific sounds that you struggle with, practice with those, remove those, maybe those trouble spots just by practicing with the app, and then you can actually improve your pronunciation very quickly. All right, listen to me, before I keep going, let me go back and see if I have some questions over here. All right, your accent is pretty clear, so I love it, but I don't know how people consider your accent. Yes, my accent is very, very clear. People can understand me. And of course, we got another siren coming through. I'm intentionally speaking very clearly and using a little bit slower English than how I normally speak so people can understand me. But I'm still sounding like a native because I blend the sounds of my words together. So if you want to sound like I do, I actually have a whole program called Speak Like Me that shows you how to do that. But in general, the more you learn like a native and get native examples, the more kind of naturally your pronunciation, your listening, your grammar, all of these things will improve. All right, so let's go back and make sure we've got all these. So Yuan says, for me, you're one of the best English teacher on YouTube. Well, thank you very much. First thing parents try to teach you is mother or father. Yeah, that's true. Hello from Chile. Well, I've been watching your English videos since I was living in Haiti. Wow, all right. So I'm stuck on intermediate. Okay, I answered that one. If I'm not wrong, you were telling that, first of all, we need to be fluent at the level we are, then we can try to level up our English. Yes, so I often tell students there's really only one way to improve your fluency, and that's getting the practice you need to speak. But when people think about practice, they think about actual speaking with native speakers or a teacher or a speaking partner, something like that, when the truth is that the practice is actually in the input that you get. So I don't need a native speaker to practice my Japanese. I do need native Japanese input, and I can get that all by myself. So I can actually become a more fluent speaker of Japanese without having a person there with me, and I can do this anywhere, anytime I like. So this is what I do in Fluent for Life. And what I explain to people is all the different things that they try to do to improve their fluency. So one of those is trying to, find people to speak with, or repeating words, or maybe they try to learn more. Often people just want to continue learning more and more, but if they don't actually use their current vocabulary fluently, learning more words will not help you. Does that make sense? This is a common mistake that people make, where they think if I learn more words, I will become fluent. But a larger vocabulary doesn't make you fluent. The amount of vocabulary or the amount of words that you know has nothing to do with fluency. Fluency is your ability to use the vocabulary you have. And this is why you can have a child with a smaller vocabulary. They can speak better than an adult with a larger vocabulary. So it doesn't matter how many words you know, you can actually be fluent in one word. And that just means you can use that word automatically, so people are talking to you, you can understand what they're saying. And so that, let's see, Harfia, yeah, so that point about understanding and using what you know, if you get fluent in that, then you move on to learn more vocabulary and you improve your fluency that way. But if you don't already have fluency in your current vocabulary, it doesn't make any sense to learn more words. Okay? It's like playing basketball. Like if I don't know how to dribble correctly, why am I learning how to do something more advanced? Now, the reason this is a problem for people is because of the brain. Basically, the brain is always interested in learning new information, right? So you're always like, look at new, it's amazing, some new information, here's a new lesson. And there's, people creating YouTube videos all the time to teach English or whatever. And it's all just trying to give you new information because nobody wants to see old information. Old information is boring, right? And this is why people don't want to practice, because it's boring. You don't want to review the same thing again and again, all right? So in general, the way to get the practice is, I've talked about this in so many videos already, that's why I want to just focus on pronunciation in this one, but you want to get naturally varied review, and this is part of what we do right here. All right, let me answer a few more questions before we move on. Khalil says, let's see, may I ask how long have you been teaching English on social media? Almost 13 years, 14 years, but I've been a teacher I started teaching almost 20 years ago, or even back in the United States. You could say I've been teaching longer than that. Do I like Japanese food? Yes, I do. But I prefer other things. I prefer Indian, Mexican, Thai. I like those more than Japanese, actually. Let's see. Hello from China. Yes, you make sense. I agree with you. Glad to hear it. All right. Thank you. You make me speak good English. Thanks for that. Yes, glad to hear it. All right. I rear and listen you clear, but I don't speak. Yeah, it's okay. Remember, you just want to get the right input. I'm trying to give you the right input. And if you get that, if you get lots of different input, the varied review that I talk about, that's how you're going to automatically become a fluent speaker. You will automatically improve your listening, your pronunciation, everything else. All right, I think we've got everything. Hello from Mexico. What's that on the board? This is Frederick. This is the world's first language discovery system. I created this so people can teach themselves English without having to wait for a teacher. And so this will actually, without you using your native language, so you don't have to translate anything, it will actually take you through the different words and pronunciation of things naturally in the same systematic way that natives are learning pronunciation. All right, so native children use this app and adults also use this app to improve their pronunciation. All right, we're just starting out with something basic, so let's get back to pronunciation and we'll review some of these over here. All right, so we've got, we covered just the first sound over here, a, e, I, Life experience in China. Nice to see that. I'm working as an ESL teacher in China. Yes, we have lots of actually ESL teachers that download this app. Go get this. It's available on the App Store in China. Your students will love it. Oh, glad to hear it. All right. So, a, e, I, and how quickly you can listen to all these different sounds. This is very important for comparing this. If you just listen to one sound and you have to wait for a while, like you're watching a video or something, it's going to take more time for your brain to process that. You will forget the sound. So it's very important to get these comparing or compare the sounds very quickly. All right. A, e, I, A, e, I, And again, you can do this right in the app. It's the exact same thing I'm doing right here. A, e, I, You can play this over and over as fast as you can. All right. Now listen carefully because each one of these are different. A, All right. Excuse me. A, And all we're doing right now is just looking at these. We're not putting the B in there yet, but we'll be able to compare those in just a moment. The point is to do one thing at a time, one step at a time, one thing at a time, and this is how you learn systematically. And also, again, find which particular sounds you might have trouble with. So each one of these is a unique sound. They're all different. Ah, eh, I, ah, like I got hit in the stomach. All right, now let's put the B in there. It'll be a little bit easier to hear the difference. Listen carefully. The B sound is the same in all of these, and none of these are words, but this is how people are learning pronunciation. All right, listen carefully. Ba, ba, be, be, bi, bi, ba, 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 ba. All right? Ba, be, bi, ba, ba. And you can do the same thing in Frederick. Now this is a reverse of that. We've actually got the vowel on the left and the consonant on the right, but we'll do that in level 3 as well. So you can go through this. You can hear ab, as, ax, at, ap, an, am, ad. Okay? So when you play with the app, you can actually do the exact same thing I'm doing right now, but actually work through all the levels systematically. It will improve your listening and your pronunciation. All right. Now, let's add something else. We're going to step it up one more level. Let's put the letter G on here. And now we start making some words. Wow. So in the app as well, you might have seen, so some words actually come up. If we have a real, like something is a word. So ad by itself, that's the word actually short for advertisement. We're not going to play any games right now. We'll just go back into level 2. And so ad, ac is not a word, ab is not a word, as is not a word, axe is not a word. You might know about like the axe where you're chopping like that. That has an E at the end of it, A-X-E. But at is a word. And so an image appears up here, and to make sure you can understand it, you can actually flip through these different images. Like this guy is at the table, this guy is not at the table. Now we designed over 8,000 images to help you understand these. So I'm at that building, at that location, around here. At. And it will help you understand all of those. All right? So now we're going to go into level 3 because we're looking at 3 different letters over here. All right? Now this one, actually this sound changes a little bit when I go into this one, so the pronunciation is a little bit different, but just so you can hear the differences in the sound, listen carefully. Bag, beg, big, bog, bug. Now I wanted to teach you just the first sound, so let's do, we'll do con for that one instead. Just as an example. Con. Or we could do hot. So the same thing, the pronunciation of all these, hat, het, hit, hot, hut. Hat, het, hit, hot, hut. Hat, het, hit, hot, hut. All right? So as you're playing with the app, as you're comparing these different sounds, and you're also testing yourself on these, this is how you develop your pronunciation automatically, because it's really your listening that lets you understand these things. Okay? So you can test yourself just like I showed you before. Now if we go into level 3, so same thing, all the levels are organized the same way, so it's kind of like a dictionary. You can actually go through and play with the different sounds here. So we've got cat over here, but I can change this to dat, gat, hat, same thing, jat, lat, mat, nat, pat. Some of them are going to be animations and make it easier for you to understand what's happening. To pat, like he's patting the dog, pat, pat, pat. Rat, rat. Now again, it's the listening that's going to improve your pronunciation, and that's why I designed this, all right? So I'm playing, I've turned off the sound, I've turned off the music as well. So you can do that, and you're just listening to my voice right now, but it's the exact same thing. So hat, milk, British. Yes, so the British pronunciation is going to be a little bit different in the future. Actually, I'd like to have multiple English pronunciations like this. But you will hear lots of American English in Britain as well, because people from all over the world are living over there. All right? But does this make sense so far? Now, as we learn something like this, we begin to level up to higher words. So let's say we take a word like hat. We'll just put this over here, hat. So we could actually, let's just do hat.